try to not force your subject into having to pose for your shot. If you're going to take a photo of someone, try to avoid manipulating them into a particular position or a look. As soon as you create a construct that makes your subject feel like it's not them, you make them uncomfortable, you expose them. Try not to give out instructions to pose your subject, because as soon as you do that, it's a very instant barrier towards making someone feel very comfortable in the situation they're in. Now, hands up if you're guilty of always asking your subject to look at the camera lens when you're taking a photo. Yes, I have been. That's one of the first directions of posing that I'm going to try and teach you to unlearn. Okay, when you ask someone to direct their eyes to the camera lens, it makes them very self-conscious and it'll make them very aware of having their photo taken. If you want to try and capture someone in their natural kind of them in their pose, don't instruct where they need to put their eyes. Let their eyes do whatever they want to do. If they're looking out the window, that's fine. If they're looking around the room or in conversation with someone, that's okay too. Or even if they're looking off to the side of the camera, looking down at their hands, whatever that might be, that's them. Looking at the camera lens is generally not what typifies someone's personality. So try and avoid asking them to look at the lens, particularly if that person, your subject, is feeling uncomfortable about having their photo taken. Now, to prove that fact, I want to show you a selection of shots I've taken of Oma, where her eye line is anywhere but the camera lens. It's looking off to the side, it's engaged in something, it's looking at someone in conversation. Any of these shots where she's doing something that feels natural to her is going to take a far more relaxing picture of Oma. It's going to paint her truth, her personality. And having said that, Oma doesn't mind looking at the camera lens. In fact, she quite enjoys it. But I often like just making sure she's not looking at the camera lens, because that's generally when people feel they need to put a smile on their face, they need to look a certain way, lift their eyes, whatever they might do. They're worried about their chins and all sorts of things. So as soon as you divert someone's attention away from the camera lens, you get a more natural picture of them. Offer to include yourself in the shot. Do a two-shot, do yourself and them together. Take photos together, include yourself in the frame, and then review the pictures. It's really, really important to show the photos that you're taking of someone to your subject so they feel comfortable and included in the process. Have a bit of a laugh, make a bit of fun out of it, and include your subject in every step of that process, and you'll see straight away they're going to feel a lot more comfortable and a lot happier about having their image taken. My next tip is to start at a bit of a distance. If your subject is feeling very self-conscious about having their photo taken, they definitely don't want you to turn the volume dial up to 11 and put a camera right in front of their face for their first photo. So step back in the scene, go wide. Sometimes those wider type scenes with a person in them can be equally as charming and beautiful as the very close-up style portrait shots. Remember, it's okay to be paired back further in the scene, take a few photos, and then gradually work your way closer to your subject. What about making it playful? Having a bit of fun, creating a situation with your subject where they can be engrossed in an activity, or you might have a cup of coffee with them, or you might be reading a paper together, or potting a plant, or whatever it might be. If you think of a fun activity, something unusual or surprising, a little bit offbeat, something you can do together, it puts your subject in an instance where they're thinking about that activity or the conversation you're having, and they're not thinking about having their photo taken. So creating that distraction is a really, really good way of finding the spirit within someone's eyes when you take their photo. We do it a lot with my mum. We do it a lot with Oma. We've got so many different instances where we just create something fun and lighthearted. We put Oma inside that situation. We see the best of her, and then she feels really relaxed about having a photo taken as well. I guess we as a family will very much lean towards using the lens to remember a moment visually with Oma. And that becomes part of our story and part of our history at the same time. You can also put people at ease by simply not starting with taking photos of their face. You can take photos of someone's hands, their shoes they're wearing, their clothes, something around them. You can take a photo from behind them where they're sitting in a chair or standing somewhere. There's any multitude of ways we can cover off on capturing a person's identity other than seeing their face. So if you need to warm that person into the idea of having their photo taken, just ask them if you can take photos of things around them first. See how they react, and if they're comfortable with that, then move on to taking photos of their face. Great one to try. As an icebreaker, throw the camera over to them first. Give your subject the chance to take a photo of you first. When you do that, you give them the position of power. You let them see you through their lens. Take a photo, look at that, have a bit of a conversation, a bit of a laugh, compare, talk notes, and then get the camera back and reciprocate the gesture. It's a great way of breaking the ice. It's a fantastic way of making that photography session inclusive as well. If your subject is particularly nervous about getting their photo taken, consider asking them what's a favourite activity that they want to partake in. Is there something you can join them in as an activity that'll create a more relaxed moment for you to photograph them in? When you see people in their native space doing something they love doing, you get the best of them and you get the real them, and that's an important point to consider. The very last thing I'm going to leave you with, I've mentioned it a couple of times, is just never forget to show your subject their photos once you've taken them. Okay, include them in the process. As soon as you do that, as soon as you turn the screen around and you sit and you enjoy watching those photos together, you create a bond out of that and you make it a team effort, not just a solo experience. So by sharing the photo with your subject, you include them in the process, they're going to feel a lot more relaxed about what you're doing.